Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lorelines. This week we've got episode 21. We're going to be discussing the beast tribes and non-primals. Fowl and Hawk speaking. Thank you for coming every single week. You guys are amazing, and please continue to spread the word. You guys may remember that the last 3 weeks we started with the primals, and we spent a second week going through all of them, and then we had a live letter and stuff to discuss last week. So we're kind of back on that original train here, but we decided to take a different tack and take a look at the beast tribes, and then also discuss these other entities that that foil our plans. So anyway, everybody welcome, and we are live.
Huzzah.
It's the whole crew.
It is indeed.
I can hardly believe it.
Viewership, if you could just make sure we all sound okay. Audio balance, I can boost people, unboost people, etc.
I guess we should all say something.
Something. Listen, I'm being a nerd and tweeting out something.
Nerd. Oh, while we're discussing tangents, I put out a several tweet thing about Final Fantasy PvP, hoping it would gain some traction.
Yeah, no, you're not going to get me.
Well, that's okay, but with this new community influx, it's just massive, right? Like they ran out of e-copies of the game, so pretty big deal. E-copies, pretty big deal, and a pretty good opportunity for people who like casually destroying other players. Maybe we can actually get good queue times. So I'm really hoping that's a thing.
I'm really hoping for them for maybe somehow make a miracle happen and revive rival wings.
Never gonna use digital again. I'm gonna use e-copies. Thanks.
I would say one comment about the influx of new people is that it has kind of been a bit rough on getting newer players who are on the free trial into servers on Aether at least, because they don't get access without subbing to the queue time. They just get kicked out, basically, and it makes it difficult for them to even log in. It's like unexpectedly popular.
I already have Bonnie boosted to 140% in my Discord, so.
Oh, Jesus.
Feel free to bring yourself up on a little bit, and
yeah, I'll do that.
In other words,
no worries.
Go practically eat your mic.
Project.
Nom 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 nom.
I didn't think we were that kind of stream.
What, ASMR?
We hit that ASMR, yep.
Well, anyway, let me pull up. I guess I should pull up the encyclopedia, ye old book.
How am I now? I boosted myself even more than I already was.
That's good, I
You
think.
sound good.
Well, until people tell us to shut up, I think you're fine.
Yeah, I boosted my output to, or my input to 100%.
Oh no, just don't yell.
I won't. It's not like we're playing Feast or doing Savage, so I don't have to yell at anyone.
That's a lie, and you know it.
Yeah.
I'm a perfect angel. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, your halo's held up by your horns.
Oh no, it's a retainer.
Hello, retainer.
That's great.
Oh hey, you see relaxing mouth sounds is on Twitch right now?
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, man.
There's personal opinion. No
Is-
such
is
thing as
that it?
relaxing mouth sounds.
This close-up of
Same.
Miko?
It's
What is
like
happening?
Luxtos is doing Eden.
What are you watching?
This is just my homepage for Twitch. It's just the
Relaxing
anyway.
mouth sounds. I
Yeah,
see.
yeah. And then Luxtos
No.
is doing Eden.
I mean your idle camera. What's going
Oh,
on?
that's
That
just
is.
what?
Relaxing mouth sounds.
Anyway.
your cafe.
that is quite the search history you have there.
See,
They're
now I
drawing
kind of want to
up
log
the-
in and go stalk Fow's house.
I've
What
already
else
made
we
it
got?
there.
We got ASMR. We
Just
got
relaxing.
art.
I already found him inside his FC.
That must have been your minion. Oh look. Look.
We've already
It's
killed.
like a spy
we've already
cam. Do you
killed
see
Meow.
this?
We have already killed. Meow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Welcome to our worst episode yet.
Right.
It's
We
pretty
started
great.
off with ASMR.
How far we've fallen.
All right.
It'll be fine.
Don't you worry. You can. We may have fallen far, but you can't fall far, as far as Blizzard did.
Well, I mean, we
Ooh.
haven't hit that bathtub stream yet.
Dear
Oh
God.
no.
Soon. So I just want to congratulate Meowth on her first video on
Oh.
YouTube, the
You-
Orsite video.
You
Yeah, give it a check if you haven't, people. It's really interesting.
Cobb, you put that one together. I just struggled
No.
to narrate the thing.
And you did an amazing narration, I must say.
Yeah, after I don't know, a million takes, I just can't pronounce well.
That's pretty normal even when it is your native language, honestly.
It's true. Ether.
The moment I
Buffer.
try and like record something, I forget how mouth noises work.
Well, it's even worse for me because for me, I mean, I'm relatively used to speak English, but in my daily life, it's a whole different pronunciation, and putting together just a paragraph took an insane amount of takes. By the end, I was just tired.
In other words, she gets potato brain whenever she speaks English.
Did somebody say potato?
Potato.
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 We're not
Potato?
continuing this.
There we go. Her burdens.
This is so much Charlatan propaganda.
Actually,
her
her
servants,
burdens,
her burdens.
Bonnie needs to be there, like, front and center.
Honestly, the
I wanna
idea we could just say that is so much Charlatan propaganda as like a catchphrase for the stream.
I do think it's worth discussing that title, though. Her burdens. Well, these inhabitants of the world are burdensome, whereas the other ones are contributors, I guess. I don't know what they're trying to contrast with. It is very interesting phrasing, though.
It gives me major Final Fantasy XI vibes.
Oh?
Yeah,
No.
the quote unquote spoken races in Final Fantasy XI are like Altana's children, but the beast tribes are Promethea's children.
Aha.
And
Interesting.
they're at constant conflict with each other.
So it's interesting you say that because I've been kind of looking at the beast tribes and what makes them different, and what, like, the main thing I can think of is when Zodiark was summoned, he repaired the world, there was all this new life. And I think that a lot of that new life might have been the form of the beast tribes, because we don't really see any of them. We don't also see any of the non-beast tribe races, and we know Lalafels are officially a beast tribe, so they aren't actually people. But I like to think that the playable races are kind of what Heidelin intended, and then the beast tribes are what Zodiark left, and Heidelin was like, hey, don't be friends with these people, make them go live out in the wilderness while you guys build your cities, and when you make deals with them, be sure and break them at every possible opportunity.
It is interesting because that seems like a natural conclusion, and I've come to it myself. And then every time I remember the Sahagin priest that demonstrates the echo and transcends his body, picks up other
And then
forms
he's
until he's eaten by Leviathan, which was our so Asians are vulnerable when they're not in bodies moment that we then use to kill Navios. But it's very interesting because in theory at least, I can't see any reason why. Obviously, through game limitations, the Warrior of Light isn't going to be a Sahagin. But if the form you take can truly be your own, as Venas says, in theory, couldn't you be that?
Well,
I don't know.
Vana's obviously very vain and wants to
As a
take
heretic.
a form that, yeah, she's a heretic, but Vana is also very vain and wants to be a player form that no one else can take, so you cannot use her face in character creation. So
Terribly inconsiderate of
that's
her,
my
really.
take. But all joking aside,
You have to keep in mind, going by Final Fantasy XII parallels, that this may be a coincidence or not, I don't know, deliberate or not. but the Venat's actions in Final Fantasy XII led up to every race except the humans being basically extinct by the time of Tactics. So, do you see where I'm going with that? Yeah.
A little too monoculture for what we're seeing now, I would agree.
Being bullied. Help.
I'm not even going
Just
to log
hold
in.
still and hope that they stop.
I'm not even going to log in. I am enjoying this too much.
The Emmett fuckers are online.
Yeah.
Are they in chat though?
Always.
Oh wait, no.
Oh, I think one or two are.
The Amalja.
Yes, I actually want to talk about them.
We're
first.
starting off strong.
We're starting off with the sexiest.
Very
beast trait.
strong.
I was gonna say I would rate them like an 8 out of 10.
Wait,
Very nice, muscly.
did she say beast treat?
No, I didn't.
Ooh.
But we're gonna go with that now.
Down, Fow. Down.
They're more like a beast meal.
True.
No, snack, beast snack.
A little beefy for
This
a
is why we're
snack.
not allowed in public. All right, let's continue.
Beef jerky, one might say.
Anyways, continuing
well
on.
seared.
Shall I just read? No, you guys do it.
We can take turns. The Amalja. The Amalja are a race of nomadic beastmen native to the grasslands of Pagalthan, where they subsist on wandering herds of sheep or small scalekin. Both male and female of the species train in the arts of combat, and any who seek to impede the path of these proud warrior tribes are scourged with fire and steel. For generations, the Amalja have made pilgrimage to their holy lands in Thanalan, a practice which often brings them into contact and conflict with the inhabitants of Ul'dah. We could read the whole page. Do we want to just talk freely
I
about
think
them?
we just want to talk freely about it because reading the whole page will just kind of kill our time.
I agree.
Agreed.
So, who all has done the Amalja quests, or who all, looking back to like 2.0, went to Exalted with them?
Yes.
I did
Still
all
on
these
that.
tribes when they were still current, so I did the Amalja ages ago, but I remember them being one of my more favorite ones, especially because of the presence of Lunga, which was the adopted U tribe member that they had in their little group, the Brotherhood of Ash.
To be honest, I felt like she was the weakest part of it. I actually really enjoyed the Amalja though. They reminded me of like the closest parallel I could think of would be like Klingons. But
I thought of them like
14.
Mandalorians too, like definitely that warrior kind of class kind of thing, where they respect people based on their martial ability first and foremost.
Right.
As it's basically I don't know exactly because we go into Pagalthan at the end of at the end of
Most recent
5.5.
patch, yeah.
And we go in there and we meet their war chief, and the guy was pretty reasonable. I don't know if he was tempered or not, but he was rather reasonable. That of course we saved their asses from Lunar Bahamut, but two, because we both help them to fend off the Telophori, and also because they probably saw how great warriors the Warrior of Light and company are. So that's a source of great respect for them.
Triple threat.
It's interesting too because sometimes you have tribes of people that are like they venerate battle prowess, but also like maybe there's an aspect of shame for not defending your own lands. But we don't see any of that from him. He's just like, "What's up, fellow badasses?"
How do you do, fellow kids?
Yes. What's up, fellow large dick wielders?
Yeah. Wielders. Oh my. So the Amalja we meet in 2.0 at the very beginning. The first time we see them, it's like they're obviously like a very warlike tribe, and it's not at all clear yet that they're all in the service of Ifrit. So you kind of get the sense that all of them are just jerks. But turns out they're all tempered, right?
Go ahead, Neela.
I was actually going to discuss that a lot. I believe the Brotherhood of Ash is not tempered. 100% though, they do still worship Ifrit. That's a cultural thing for them.
Yes.
It's interesting and important to draw the distinction between culturally we worship this god and we are literally bending our soul's energy toward empowering this god actively. And it can be hard to tell just from meeting someone, obviously. They have some ideological... Oh, sorry.
No, it's the difference between faith and fanaticism, basically. It's one thing to have faith in a certain higher power, another to say, I'm going to make this higher power come here and kick your ass.
I agree. I think that's a really good way to put it. Thank you. But yeah, they have ideological differences. They don't like the way the other ones are behaving, the wrath of the cities that's being called down on their people because of the, I guess, more warlike behavior. It has been a little while since I did the quest. But yeah, it's actually very interesting.
I'm reading a little bit while we were talking about the Brotherhood of Ash. It says they feel contempt for their kin in the major tribes who too readily rely on the strength of Ifrit's blessings and engage in outright warfare with the Flame Fangs, a powerful faction that actively seeks to summon the fiery primal.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because by relying on Ifrit's blessing, basically they are admitting to not being strong enough to fend for themselves.
Yeah, and it makes you think that, of course, it says that the Amalja faction that's occupying southern Thanalan, and that means Sandrak and Saharak, they are probably a relatively small faction, but there's probably, like we saw, a large number of Amalja who are probably not tempered, living in Pagalfam, which of course is a territory way bigger than this holy land. We meet the fanatics in Zanrak and Saharak.
So I think it's interesting, much like the Ixali, that the Amalja just have such a large territory in the south part of Aldenard. But what I also think is very interesting is the fact that they worship Ifrit and not another deity. And I think a lot of that is due to their location. Because if we remember the Tales from the Shadows, one of the stories was about Vilbrand, and how it was going to explode in an eruption. And Azem was like, well, I'm going to take all that ether, use La Habrea as Ifrita, and kick its ass. And that'll be the end of that. And I really think that because this was during that time of post final days, but pre Sundering, the Amalja were there, and they took that memory of seeing that, God being born, basically, and didn't really have any other way to interpret that, and kind of handed that down, and it evolved into Ifrit.
I mean, the story about that story is before the final days. So unless the Amalja were already there, then the incident with the Frita would have been before Zodiark's advent. I think that's. I can't. Maybe I don't know. I think, but anyways. But I think it's entirely possible that Asum drew Ifrita to what is now southern Aldenard. So, yeah, could be the origin of that legend.
And yeah, I would very much agree with what Neela said, where Pagla Than puts the Than in Thanalan.
Yeah.
Just because Uldans can't keep anything original, they have to take everything from everyone else.
Well,
Yeah,
it's a
fair
very
point.
normal sort of naming convention and how places get called and how those names change based on a culture. Like you see the Sildi Ulda, like the interesting names of the Lalafell named cities. And it sort of seems like they maybe mashed the Pagalthan Than, the Thal, the Thal of Null Thal, their patron deity, and then, their own naming conventions and came up with Thanalan.
Zombie Zanetta asks the perennial question: do the Tempered have any free will, or Or do tempered have some free will, but ultimately have a sense of a zealot towards what tempered them?
I think it's pretty much revealed that at this point, the temper are. It depends on your degree of tempering.
There are
It's
various
not-
degrees of it. Yes.
Precisely. It's a muddy water to start with. I've personally viewed and
What is happening?
described it as goal reassignment. Basically, instead of you saying, I want this for me, you're like, well, what does my God want? Okay, I want this. But you generally have movement room within that, how you approach it. The convocation was tempered by Zodiac, but they still argued and had a great division over how to proceed afterwards.
There
Yeah,
are
and support-
some. There was. I mean, in the most recent patch 5.5, it wasn't 5.55. There's a lot more in 5.55 than 5.5. But 5.5, this kind of went over what exactly tempering was and what the Allegans researched on it was with Owen.
5.4 had a lot from the
5.4.
Owen stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as did the situation with Tiamat and revealing that memories were able to kind of bring a person's more original character back out and overcome tempering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I would definitely, if you've already cleared 5.4 and 5.5, you can revisit those cutscenes and definitely kind of revisit what all they've talked about over Owen's research and what all the Allegans have studied.
And then maybe another good thing to do with that in mind is once you've looked at those scenes, go back and look and see a lot of the scenes with Emmett in them and consider how his interactions with the Scions and the Warrior of Light might have brought out memories of his past with the Zem and caused his tempering to kind of falter a little bit. It wouldn't have been broken, but it would have been changed at least a little bit, enough for him to kind of realize maybe I'm not necessarily going in the way that I want to go.
It can also apply. It can also apply to Elidibus in a sense, even though
Yes.
it was at the end.
His
I have a different
his
idea of how that
mention,
went down.
his
And of
mention
course-
of training heroes throughout history.
And of course, the very first instance we have of this guy is definitely 100% tempered. The tempered brass blade, I believe, that led the Warrior Light and a bunch of other people into a trap where where Freak tried to temper us. That guy played it very cool up until it was too late to escape, and then he just starts laughing.
Yes, and he acted
well, and
very.
Ungus too.
Yeah, he acted very differently than the person we saw who was freshly tempered,
Yes.
who was, down on his knees worshiping Ifrit and basically having no free will of his own.
Is
Whereas,
probably in my mind is overwhelmed, and I am just in awe of this thing that I never even considered before because you just got tempered. That'd be
Yeah.
my assumption, but that doesn't seem to be how normal tempered people behave.
If I recall correctly, it's confirmed in interviews with Koji that tempered can technically hide the fact that they're tempered as well. If they have some specific directive that they're supposed to carry out from their
Indeed.
primal, they can just hide the fact that they're tempered and act
Just like the
Uh,
Brass Blade did, yep.
exactly.
Yeah, 4.1 is also a really interesting situation of the same when those tempered by Lakshmi actually are not just the Kalyana. They actually tempered a number of members of the resistance, and until the deed was done, it was not revealed.
I remember that. Yes.
mhm.
Let's move on to the next set of
Yeah.
Beast Tribe. The Exile.
Next up, we have the Ixal.
Ixal.
I crafted a bunch of things for him.
I mean,
I never did those.
my eyes went straight to the symbol, and they Ixal rally under the eternal winds, and I'm like, oh god, they're Allegan origin, and they went for that.
Yeah. So, the Ixali are kind of a unique case, I think, as far as beast tribes go, because they are genetically engineered by the Allegans.
For those that didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went through that on
Surprise.
one of our previous episodes. But just in summary, the dungeon up in Azisla post
The
Heavensward
fractal continuum,
the
how?
fractal, yeah, the fractal continuum. So the hard mode, we take some of the folks from the friendly tribe in North Shroud, kind of follow them up there, and they discover their origins.
It's actually really
Ins-
sad.
Incidentally,
They're actually fine with it. They don't actually really mind.
Well, the chieftain had the wisdom to say, we don't need those legends anyway, but the people who believe, the Ixal who believe their past, I'm sure, have some sort of grief about it.
So let's talk about the Ixal that oppose us first.
Well,
And
Neela
foremost.
had something to say, didn't he?
Oh,
and just a quick note. This is the crafting beast tribe, of course, for A Realm Reborn. It is a little tedious to do, but I will say if you can find the time to do it, find the time to knock it all out. It's very fulfilling to like build this thing. I won't go any more details with your own hands, essentially.
it's not as exciting as like the Mughals or any of the later Beast Tribe, crafting stuff, but I mean, it's still good to do. It's still
Did you
fun.
just say
hit that
Mughals are
final
exciting?
cutscene,
Goals and exciting.
when you hit that final cutscene, it starts getting misty in the room. You know how it is.
Yeah, I will say for the Ixal, I did it during ARR before Heavensward was announced.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a tease for what was coming because they were talking about the island in the sky that was their home and that they were
Yes.
building an airship to go there.
Yes.
So it was kind of teasing Azislaw and going Heavensward.
I really hope we get to see them go somewhere, like actually go somewhere with that airship.
Maybe that's how we're
We
going to
did.
get to the floating continent.
Well,
Wouldn't that be interesting?
we have the one Ixali who did make it to Azislaw, and he was the one who found out the truth. And I want to say that, was he in a war balloon or was he actually in the airship that we helped build?
Ooh,
He
I
don't
can't
remember.
recall if our
If I
airship was an
remember-
Ironworks or theirs.
I remember seeing at the very beginning of the hard mode dungeon, you actually see a crashed airship, don't you? Isn't that
Yeah, I'm
the one
about
you came
to
on?
queue in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, explore mode. Go.
Only works in Shadowbringers dungeons. Unsafe.
Someday they'll get more explorer dungeons.
So, the Ixal, claiming the wind-blasted canyons of Zelfatol as its domain, this aggressive mountain tribe makes frequent forays into the Black Shroud to fell trees in the name of its fickle goddess. Heedless of the will of the elementals, the Ixal and their practices are at violent odds with the forest nation of Gridania. They angry.
It's
Angry
actually very
birds.
interesting to me. They defy the elementals. They want to cut down the trees, of course, but doing so weakens the elementals, as I understand, which is why the elementals are not so involved in 2.0 quests as they were in 1.0, as I understand it, because the Calamity weakened them quite a bit.
Good.
It was
I feel
substantially
like
different.
they're useful.
The intro quest cutscene for the 1.0, lots of nasty elementals trying to kill everybody. It was very dangerous, kind of dark wood.
Yeah, the
vibe.
elementals are dicks.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
I don't know. They were very nice to me in the healer quests and the white mage quests.
I did the White Mage quest too. They're still dicks.
I think the issue with the elementals
Okay,
is that,
Sophie.
like Kanisena explains, is that they understand the world in a very different way. So basically, the only way you can communicate with them is, let's say, through your ether. And at this moment, probably there's only two kind of people who may be able to do that: the Padgel and the Ancients.
And a blind cat girl
Yeah,
Yeah.
who could see either.
that too.
She just treats it as your swimming pool.
Wow.
Let's go in the live stream, guys.
Oh no.
Next time, if she does that a third time, I want Emetzel to just came with holding Yesola from the scruff, like, get your cat off of my lawn.
I'm
So-
imagining she does it a third time and she ends up in like some secret box, like chamber,
So
like a cafe or a
I actually
library.
wanna-
She does it again, and she ends up in Final Fantasy 13-4.
No. I actually want to point something out that I thought was interesting, that when she yeeted herself into the live stream in Shadowbringers, and Emmett brought her out, she was exactly the same. She was completely unchanged. And I don't know whether that's due to the fact that she was just a soul without a body, but it makes me think that part of what made her and Thancred so affected by going into the live stream in the first place was her own spell.
I'd like to add some clarification on Zombie's question. Was it going into the live stream that ruined her sight? It wasn't the spell itself, as I understand. It was that she spent a long time in the live stream, like just chilling there before we were finally able to figure out how to get her out, and then find her sister and set everything up and get the permission of the elementals to help out.
That makes
So
sense.
chilling for a long time seems to have made the big difference.
If I may, I think what I understood, this be me and what I understood, because Yashol explained that keeping your sense of self and your body together, or maybe your conscience together in the live stream, takes a great deal of discipline. And probably you can, since the souls that go into the live stream, they kind of disperse, and that's pretty much what happens when to others who have use flow, or something that happens with broken etherites. I think that by staying too much time, as Yashtola did in the live stream, she lost a part of herself, just like Thancred. But Thancred got out rather immediately. But Thancred is not trained in the arcane arts as much as Yashtola was, which makes sense that he had less discipline to withstand this thing, and it broke his ethereal capabilities.
Well, there's also something else with him. He was already vulnerable from being possessed by La Habrea. If you talk to him in the wake of that, he says things like, "Oh, I can't go do the primal stuff anymore. I'm too susceptible to tempering. It's too dangerous." So that probably didn't help his situation any.
For sure. Yeah, specifically, because I think there's some conflation between Bahamut and Zombie Zanetta here, but it was the first time she went in after the Bloody Banquet, where if you remember the quest line for Heavensward, we don't even see the Scions until after we kill Thordan. Like, it's way, 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 way late.
Only Yashtola. Yashtola was the only one we got before.
Yep.
Yeah,
And Dravani and
correct. Yeah, so we got her, but she was in the live stream so long. The exact mechanics of losing her sight, I guess we don't know, strictly speaking. But it's not the spell itself, like not flow. It was definitely the saturation in the live stream. The effects are varied depending on who you are. So we know Thancred lost his ability to weave. He can't do any ethereal anything. And then Yashtola lost her sight. The others seem largely okay.
Well, Minfilia lost herself. I believe those were the only ones that went in, right?
Minfilia was claimed by Heidelin.
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, those are the only 3 that went in that time.
I think it's interesting, though, that
we get flowed out also, though.
Yeah, we do.
True.
That basically Thancred, where they mentioned that he loses his ability to use ether, and I know I'm getting off track here, but during the prep for Gimlet Dark, we learned that a lot of people can't use ether and etherites, and that this is a widespread thing. So not everyone can wield ether. So are they Garleans, or is whatever? Is whatever?
I bet Charlians are just really good at it. I bet Charlians go to ether kindergarten, and then ether school, and then ether college.
Oh god,
man, I'm fresh off the boat here. I can't use ether just yet. I must be Garlean.
But but the second time, for example, Yashtola is actually fortunate. I think when Uriange mentioned that Yashtola certainly has the favor of the 12 the second time, we rescue her from Flo. He's rather actually more on point than he would probably realize, because the second time it's Ametzelk who gets her out, but it's something that probably most likely not. It's not just that any ancient could have done it. It's just that only Hades could have done that.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. only
To
someone
answer
who
Zombie Zanetta's question, the void and the life stream are two very, very different things.
extremely different.
Let's just go ahead and go into it. So the void is the remainder of the 13th shard of the original world. It was attempted to be rejoined first, and they really messed up, and it became utterly unrejoinable. And so people who summon beasts from the void are summoning living creatures from that 13th world. Meanwhile, the life stream is present on all shards, and it's kind of the cycle of life, just like, say, Final Fantasy VII, where it's kind of the life's blood of the planet, where when a soul dies, it goes back to it, and that ether is reused in some other kind of karmic cycle. So
You turn into a
very,
tree.
very different things.
Speaking of Final Fantasy VII, that reminds me, I wanted to bring up just in passing that I was reading something the other day on it. And apparently, if you spend time in the live stream in 7, it would damage you because all the memories of other people would like flow through you, and you could forget who you were. So
Yeah.
I wonder if they were
That is true.
theming that with the issues that Y'shtola and Thancred experienced.
I think a lot of that was losing your sense of self, like you were talking about earlier, or Neela was talking about. And I also think that's how Cloud knew about games that didn't exist yet.
That's funny. Good joke.
I would go into how the cycle of life works in Final Fantasy 13, but that would be a long story.
Very
Please-
much
please
a
don't.
tangent. We'll save it for another time.
Yeah. Now it's time for another beast tribe.
Do we have any more thoughts
Yes.
on the Ixal? We pretty much
So-
tangented right away.
Yes, their Oaknots are annoying to get. You need to be second from max rep to get them, and their quest line sheds a lot of light on airship travel in the world of Final Fantasy XIV and how recent it really is.
I used the term exalted earlier, and I took it back instantly because that's my WoW speaking. I'm sorry.
Fair, it's
How dare you.
allied, I think. Well, no, it's Bloodsworn in AR.
That's
Yes,
true. It
I'm
is
sorry.
Bloodsworn.
Yeah, the
It's
AR ones
exalted.
unfortunately have extra levels that you have to do.
I will read the Icuttle 9 really quick. An entirely arbitrary number chosen by the company's leader is an outcast gathering of Ixali artisans and engineers who actively pursue their race's dream of returning to the floating paradise of Ayatlan. To this end, these beastmen crafters toil endlessly on the, I can't read that, Dazulkalan? A prototype balloon airship hybrid developed to attain a ceiling altitude of 5,000 yalms. Although orthodox Ixali war balloons are propelled by airstones enchanted with Garuda's blessings, the progressive thinkers of the Nine have chosen instead to adopt a modern airship technologies, as well as implementing advanced inventions such as etheric sailcloth and cerulean propulsion engines. The
All
open-minded,
of which were crafted by the Warrior of Light.
yes,
Every
the
single one.
open-minded chief Sezul Totolok has also recruited the services of the talented Tataramu, heir to the Highwind Skyways, in a bid to maximize his crew's chance of success. So those are the friendlies.
I also like to state that this is another case of the split between those who have faith in Garuda and those who want to summon Garuda.
Yes, they're much like the they're much
Yeah.
like the Amalja in that way that they still think they still speak of Garuda that she's their deity, but they don't want her like standing next to them that she
Right.
should be nebulous.
I've always found this entry interesting because of how in detail they go about kind of the well, you're looking at it now, like surnames, nomenclature, this kind of thing. They're trying to really fill out the lore of the tribe here. So 70% of the population is Wind Risen clan. Laborer class of the Ixal said to be the first to flap their wings and rise to the air.
It's funny, the Charlians have so much information on them, and yet Eorzeans still be like beast tribes.
Yeah, like in the North Shroud when they're like, "Hey, the Ixar are here, let's kill them," and it's literally the Icuttle 9.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of like the level 5 fate that spawns there.
It is a common belief among the Ixal that an individual's temperament and personality are strongly influenced by his or her birth wind. They've got astrology.
Excuse
I
you.
would argue that there is.
astrology.
But can they figure out why kids love Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
It's the taste you can see.
Damn.
Double damn.
Drugs are bad,
Anyways,
okay?
kobolds.
Splody rats.
Splody rats. Oh my gosh.
With
So,
a sun
these-
symbol.
These subterranean beastmen dwell in northern Vilbrand, where they perforate the rocky bowels of Orgormo with an ever-expanding warren of shafts and tunnels. After long years of conflict, the kobolds forge a peace treaty with the nearby city-state of Limsa Lominsa, but recent disagreements over the acquisition of mineral resources have sparked a resurgence of hostilities.
That's
Well,
not
that
quite what happened.
That obfuscates the blame.
We took your land!
Mm.
Yeah, they had a treaty, and Limsa was like, "No, we're not gonna do that anymore."
I love how it's entirely factual, but it's definitely written with a strong, like, races of man bias.
Well, Charlene propaganda, of course.
Yeah. It's
Do what you
interesting.
want.
Peter's one of the most blatant examples of it.
Indeed. Recent disagreements have sparked passive voice. They don't say who messed it up.
No, it's the kobolds.
It is curious, though, about that whole treaty business, because, I mean, obviously human-type people are not going to just hang out on their boats forever. Like, they're going to come inland, probably farm a little bit, and I wonder where the line was before.
Summerford
problems.
Farms.
I believe.
Like, is it just,
a lot
we
of it had
literally...
To do,
Go ahead.
no, I believe a lot of it had to do with the fact that they had a very vague pact and they hadn't really nailed things down. I liked that in 5.4. A lot of people found it a little less interesting, but I was like, yes, finally! Get some actual words on paper.
As far as I understood it, Limsa and the city of Limsa were to claim the bounty of the sea, and the kobolds the bounty of the land. So when the Limsans started making settlements on land, that was the violation of the treaty, because now they were taking kobold lands away from them.
Yeah, but like I said, obviously we're not going to just hang out on the ocean forever. Like,
No.
people need food, and it's not just fish. So,
Well, they should have thought of that before they signed the treaty.
yeah.
Do
True.
what you want, because a pirate is free. You are a
Something
pirate.
tells me they didn't sign anything. They just talked to the kobolds and were like, sound good? Sound good.
Yeah, it was a verbal agreement, very much a gentleman's agreement. Wink.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You made a gentleman's agreement with pirates. That
The
sounds like the
pirates.
kobolds' fault.
You know,
Yeah, blame the kobolds.
like that.
Well, I mean, even until very recently, it's clear that Limsa is not a monolith. Like, there are so many different factions of pirate clan leaders that are just not really down with the whole business till the very end. I'm sure that there are still some that we didn't see off screen who aren't very happy.
I think that's very true.
So we talk about the Sploity rats, and I don't think we can talk about the kobolds without bringing up the Mord.
I agree. I was thinking about this morning.
I think we should have talk about the Zune in Norvrand when discussing the Malja.
Yes, we should. Actually,
Sure, we can
talk about that
backtrack to it. Yeah, let's absolutely. So it's interesting that when we go to the first, you see all the same beast tribes with different names, and this has implications.
Meaning they already probably existed before the Sundering, because if not, they wouldn't. It's the proof is. I think the most tangible proof of that is the Ixal, who the Ixal were engineered by the Elegants, and they cannot be found on the first. Meaning their existence was after the Sundering, but all of the rest seem to have been a thing. Pre-Sundering.
Yes, and it's also
And-
interesting we don't
and
really see the
apparent-
expansion ones,
yeah.
but that makes sense because those areas were consumed by the flood.
Mm.
Poor Namazu. They deserve
They
better.
should have.
Was it the
they
big
should have
one,
done
or-
their celebration scene.
I was really hoping we'd find them underground.
I was.
Ah.
So we discussed the sun, and then the Mord.
Yes.
Yes. So, what all did people think of the kobolds when you first saw them? Like, did you immediately think, "Oh, look, it's rats in plate armor"?
That's exactly what I thought. Let's kill
That's
them
100%.
all.
exactly what I thought too. That they were like kind of annoying, especially because you had to navigate Ugoromo, and it's just such a labyrinth at first.
And then they're
But-
carrying around things like shanks and like little thaumaturge weapons. Yeah.
I
Yeah, was
found
like,
their mode
oh,
of
they-
speech very charming and kind of like them. Especially when they got out the bombs. I was like, okay, now we're friends.
I did after I did the Beast Tribe. I warmed up to them, but before then, I was like, they all need to die. They're
And yet there's
terrible.
There's another rat beast tribe.
One of them has an extremely high voice named Gabu.
Yeah, we don't talk about the Kakirin though. Not yet.
I'm not sure
but
they've
in
played
all-
an
in
important
all
role in the whole
seriousness-
story so far.
In all seriousness, the kobolds were necessary to introduce us to Titan, one of the primals.
Hmm.
Yeah. Even if they were just an excuse to do so.
Oh my god, Cobb, you are on a tirade today.
The AR Beast Tribes are rough. What can I say? Just wait till we get to the selves.
You're staring daggers at every one of these that we bring up.
You notate candle.
Okay, that's enough out of you. Let's move on to the next one.
Are we discussing the Brantic?
What would you like to
One?
talk about?
We haven't
Go
discussed
ahead.
any others.
Feel free. I mean, the
Yes.
Soon are the Amalja equivalent. Yeah.
Yes.
The Sun, yeah, those they are commonly found in the Crystarium, and the difference, most of the difference with the Amalja is that they are basically furry reptiles. They they have white fur instead of just scales, and
Yes.
I thought they were just wearing that. I'll have to pay more attention next time I look at it.
Same.
So I'm teleporting to the Crystarium now.
Yeah,
that
there
you
she
said
goes.
that.
So the Sun, they're as from what we're told, they're really renowned for taking care of livestock and stuff. They are great chocobo and amaro trainers, and it's actually one of the Sun that accompanies us on our first flight to Colusia. Because, like he said, it's better than if it's your first time flying an Amaro. You best have someone as soon accompany you to see that everything's all right.
I
So, yeah,
really like this. Darling gremlin monkey babies. That is listening garden and chat. That was fantastic.
And they seem to be quite integrated in the Crystarium as a society, because you have the whole of Temenos Rookery crawling with Soon. That's why they
Yeah.
mostly do their work.
Bonnie and I are looking at them right now. They wear different attire, but they generally have the same kind of appearance.
They super do. Yeah, they're
They're like-
animal husbandmen and gardeners basically.
Yeah, they kind of strike me as more domesticated in a lot of ways than the warlike Amalja.
Hmm.
Like they're a lot more used to living in the city, managing the chocobos and the Amaro.
Yeah, I would say that they are great. They are kind of, the usual representation of a beastmaster in a Pacific way.
Well, yeah, like the Amalja themselves aren't exactly the most warlike race either, because Paglafon specifically is just a massive plain, and if I recall correctly, the Amalja there are supposed to be, herding livestock and farming and foraging.
Yes, they're all trained to fight, but they aren't like conquerors. They aren't going out to do that. They just are fierce defenders, and they all study the arts of war.
And if if they have to put a spear through your gut, and they'll do it.
They're a grasslands nomadic wanderer tribe, but with a lot more cultivation of the land.
So
rather
they're
than
Aura
say,
light or Zayla light, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
As for the Mord, the version of the kobolds, then they don't wear plates. They wear a big hat, and they have beady red eyes and teeth underneath. What they're kind of. I found the description of weird, adorable, quite appropriate for the Mord. And
The voice acting direction for the Mord, I feel like they should be wearing top hats.
Yeah, they're very
Yes,
much
yes.
like, we're going to sell you something. Yes, yes. Crack your coin purse.
Yeah, so like the kobolds are more like miners and like what am I describing? Miners and obsessed with explosions, whereas on the first they are miners and super capitalists.
Yeah. So they lack the pyrotechnic expertise and the engineering, and they're totally
Yes.
down with commerce.
Well, they're a merchant race, so basically, yes.
Excuse you,
They
drop
figured out another way to get ores.
bombs. They drop bombs on the Amara market.
It's a good thing we have Sakhagan next, because now we can also talk about the Ondo.
Yes.
No, wait. We have to talk
Another
about their
lovely
incredible
hot
cuisine.
species.
Oh no.
The incredible moist bread and worm cookies.
No,
Oh,
jeez. No, my stomach.
I ate every
Flaming
bite. How
hot
about you?
lizard.
Every
Yeah.
bite.
Yeah, I went every last mouthful because I was
Yeah.
just like, I ain't no bitch.
Right?
I chose
that.
to shake.
Okay, Bon.
See, this is why I know that Bonnie's a kindred spirit.
Oh no.
I ain't no bitch. It's funny. All right. The Sahagin.
I'm getting
This
you a
aquatic
picture of
race.
the Ondo too.
Excellent.
The sea hags.
I
The
half
sea hags.
expected you to come see the Ondo by going to Amarant first.
I almost did.
So I will be perfect. Oh, there's that Miko again. I will be perfectly honest. The Sahagin were hands down my favorite of the ARB tribes storylines.
It was a great storyline. I have to agree. If you haven't done it, you could probably look it up on YouTube. Honestly, if you don't want to grind it out yourself. But I found that one very interesting. Like the wisdom of age, looking back on the fire of youth, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where it's like, look, kid, you're a fucking idiot. I tried this, it didn't work, and you're making the same mistake.
Yep.
Plus, you got the sweet mount, and you got to go to different places that you don't normally get to go to before flying.
I'll read this one really quickly. The Sahagin. This aquatic race of beastmen resides in a city built at the bottom of the Indigo Deep. Known for attacking ocean-faring ships and dragging sailors screaming into the murky depths, the Sahagin are often the subject of angry and fearful curses on the streets of Limsa Liminsa. Since the advent of the Seventh Umbral Era, these hostile denizens of the sea have taken to seizing territory along the Vilbrand coastline in order to establish new spawning grounds. It goes into it a bit in this quest, actually, that their old spawning grounds were destroyed by the Calamity, so now they're desperately trying to find a place to have babies, because they don't have babies, they all die out. But yes, the city built at the bottom of the Indigo Deep. By whom, I do wonder.
I hope that we see a Tempest equivalent in Endwalker. I think it's going to be critical that we look for ruins there to find out secrets that certain eldest and most powerful of primals aren't telling us.
I get the feeling we're going to be finding a lot of ruins in a lot of places.
Maybe
we aren't expecting, and one of them might be there, and that would be very interesting.
I think namely we'll find them floating north of Garlemald.
MSQ aside, something I would really like to see in Endwalker is, instead of like a continuation of the Bosnia quest line or anything like that, I'd like an equivalent to that in Eureka that's like an archaeological expedition searching out ancient ruins.
Oh my god, yes.
That would be
I'm on board.
That would be so good.
I want it. We should tweet the Final Fantasies.
I want it now.
We're going to go on the hunt for Azim's words in the Anadir somewhere
Like, I'm
sorts.
already an archaeology nerd, so something like that with actual
absolutely.
archaeology elements would just make my day.
They could probably take a few tricks out of WoW's book in archaeology and just like make it a game.
Absolutely. The minigame, the archaeology minigame.
I hated that. I'll be honest.
Hey, in this context, anything ancient related? Cadmus.
Yeah, if there's lore tied to it instead of like you found a relic and your archaeology level went up, keep going.
Yeah, you found fossilized poop.
Yeah,
That was a good way to make money too. I really enjoyed it.
Camouflage.
It could be better. But I would love to see something like that here. Something like that. That'd be cool.
Bonnie, have you returned to crap?
Yes.
So anyway, Sahagin.
I'm intrigued by the symbol too, because not because it actually means anything in particular as of now in the source, but for the Ondo, their first equivalent, we know they are deeply spiritual and they believe in the guidance of the ancients. Even before Emetzelk wove the glamour over the ruins. So
so I think that really started after the flood. That's when they found the ruins that they took up residence in, and were saying, okay, this is the will of the ancients. There's something to this. Let's rethink our faith. Leviathan's a fraud. There's no such thing. But the ancients, here's proof of their existence. Let's go with that.
I'm not sure if
I don't think they had any of the Leviathan worship, honestly. They have the same
No, they
standard thing,
didn't.
but it does not have the symbol.
Yes, and there's also no indication that the Ondo are oppressed like they are in the source, or rather, as the Sakagan are in the source. So I don't think they really ever thought about going on land and having to summon something, because they didn't really have too much interaction with people on land.
Even the
recall,
Benthos, the opposing tribe to the Ondo, well, they're both Ondo, but the opposing tribe that we deal with them in 5.2 in Anamnesis and Eider, they actually went into Anamnesis and Eider because their matriarch was pregnant and they needed to spawning grounds, and instead of going to search anything else, they went for a structure that was technically a blessing from the ancients.
Mm-hmm.
as I recall, they also like to predate upon the other tribes. They weren't like the nicest, but you know.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's fine that we wiped out an entire tribe of Ondo.
It'll be fine.
Yes,
Just imagine all
that.
the sushi.
Can we talk about the murder hobo of Final Fantasy?
Me?
Delicious. Wait, Xenos?
No. Well, see, that's
Warrior of
interesting.
Light?
See, we have this
Ani?
hero complex, right? You guys have talked about this offline, and I'm sure it's come up before, but we have this hero complex, like we're the good guy. And then
No, we're
if you
not.
look at Xenos, really, we are exactly the same thing.
Yep.
Oh, we absolutely are.
The only
Actually, we're
difference is
worse.
skills and intent.
We are
Yeah, it's like-
worse than Xenos because we are convinced that we are right.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And also, reasons he's my murder husband. Come on.
I mean, he doesn't care what's right. He just wants to fight.
Yeah.
Relatable.
Bonnie.
There's that.
Bonnie just wants some of that juicy.
I mean, true. Smack that juicy.
Back to your corner.
That reminds me of the short story where he's hanging out in the Doma Cafe and Yatsuyu's trying to get him to spill the beans.
And he's just not having any of it.
He's like, no,
Yeah.
no.
It makes me kind of want to have Meowth draw like that scene, but Xenos
be
being
great.
all like, ew, cooties.
Ooh, cooties. That would be
Yes.
fun too. I would draw it straight, like literally saucy Yatsuyu and Xenos disinterested.
Did you just say saucy?
Saucy. What, am I wrong?
It's
That
accurate.
is the
You're not
best
wrong.
way to describe that. Saucy, sassy,
Saucy.
fresh, fierce.
That's amazing.
I'm telling Lane.
Saucy. All right. Diet. Hey, they eat fish.
Yes,
Awesome.
they do. That is proven. Red stars in particular, I believe, in the in the Stormblood quest line for spearfishing, is a Sahagin quest line.
I have so much inventory space taken up in my retainer for Beast Tribe stuff that I can't turn in because I don't have the rep. So I should probably do that.
I'll never forgive the Yokai Watch questline because I literally had like 15 stacks of Electrum shields and Titan shields, and I didn't unlock the Beast Tribe yet. I had no idea what it was for, and I threw them all away.
The Sahagin population is overwhelmingly male, with females accounting for less than a tenth of their number. From this small pool of females, the most dominant and capable individual ascends to the throne of the Indigo Matriarch, a position from which she bequeaths clutches of eggs to those male champions proven worthy of her favor.
See, that is the life right there. Just be like, you're a cool dude. Here's some eggs.
You're a cool dude.
Now you're a father.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
What the fuck is wrong with us?
We're fun. That's what's wrong.
No, let's get back
See,
on topic.
Every time someone says congratulations, all I can think about is that scene from Evangelion. With all the cringe clapping and just everyone saying congratulations.
Can I offer you my nice eggs in this breeding time?
Oh,
Oh,
thank goodness, a species with no eggs.
Listening Garden says this.
That is one
Congratulations, Shinji.
it's one of the things that makes the Sahagin so compelling.
Did you know that there are Sahagin mating windows? Literally, their mating time only lasts 52 weeks a year.
I did not. Please elaborate.
No, I'm done.
Shall we move on to flying lettuce?
Yes.
So what you're saying is, let us move on.
So, I don't know.
no.
Let us move on.
I
Oh boy.
I rate that 5 Guluses out of 5.
All right, so Ramu spends his day with floating cabbages. One day, he's going to make himself a whole batch of coleslaw right there.
So, I was watching a certain streamer recently, and when we lose the sylph, was it Neuraxia?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so the commentary was like, oh no, she's dead? Wait, I have to drag the body? Can't I just make a salad or something?
See, one of my friends got really upset about Neuraxia's demise because we had just stopped playing Final Fantasy XI and they had killed off one of his favorite tribe characters in that, like
They also a
a
floating
month
cabbage.
prior.
Yeah, I do understand, and I actually, I had feels as well, but in retrospect, and many years later, the fact that a cabbage gets kicked into a wall is just.
I will
Yeah.
be perfectly honest, guilty pleasure. One of my favorite things to watch on YouTube in the last week is watching Asmongold's reaction to that scene.
Yeah, that's.
He just cracks up laughing, and it just makes my day every time I watch it.
Let's get off that sensitive subject.
Oh no, he's
boy.
fine. He's fine.
Oh boy, a diminutive people who dwell deep within the Black Shroud. By and large, these woodland folk hold favorable relations with other races and have become an almost common sight since a trade in crystals was established. The Garlean invasion of the Black Shroud, however, has quickly soured the Sylph's view of outsiders.
I mean, like, one quick question. Do we all here agree that the Sylphs are the result of Halmard smoking whatever he wanted, whatever he did, and he came up with, why not a flying, talking cabbage?
That's just like your opinion, man.
he basically was like, Emmett keeps calling what I'm smoking the devil's cabbage, so I'm gonna just make that as like a concept.
I'm gonna make some real devil's cabbage. See how he likes that.
The sylphs are aromatic. You heard it here first.
So, just so anyone who doesn't know, Halmarat, one of the members of the convocation who has not appeared yet, who really only appears in game in Academia Nighter, we have decided that he is the dude from The Big Lebowski, and his goal was to basically make the best, most powerful weed.
Landscaper, quote unquote.
Yes, quote unquote landscaper. There you go.
Totally not why his room in Anidar is completely cloudy and
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Hey,
since
it wouldn't be a utopia without him.
yeah, I really like what Midnight said, because we have been relating to the characters, or rather the beast tribes, on the first. I also think the sylphs are kind of like proto pixies. But for some reason on the first they developed into their own separate race. But I think that the sylphs and the pixies are very much related.
I
Thoughts
mean,
go.
I'm not sure if I would because of the way they're born. It's kind of different because the Fey folk, at least the pixies, seem to be born of souls of children, and the sylphs are pretty much, well, they grow.
Born of the souls of cabbage.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Recall that that Ramu is like set them free or did something with them. This could have happened after the Sundering. I'm not sure it
Ooh.
tells us actually, but the resemblance is, in my opinion, not coincidental. If you look at the hair of the Sylph Elder and you look at Titania's hair, you're gonna go, oh.
I mean,
Yes.
fair. I think
I'm going right now.
I think,
Oh
of
my.
course, the Fey folk, the pixies in particular, because Fey folk, there's the Numo, there's the pixies, there's the Fuath, there's a wide number of things to call Fey folk. But the pixies in particular, I think it's fair to think that they may have something in common with the pixies. Perhaps the inspiration may have been the same, because the pixies too look kind of, they have these wings and stuff that they kind of look somewhat leafy. So yeah, I'm not sure if I would qualify the sylphs as Fey folk, but I think of all the source, only the elementals are more Fey folk than the sylph.
I should establish
sylphs
also
are not like other races. They don't do the male females go together to reproduce. What we call male and female is actually just like, someone else explained it much better than I, but it's not actually the same thing at all. So they're already odd, and it could, I don't know. To me, it fits. To others, they may see it differently.
So the thing I wanted to mention is that when I played through A Realm Reborn and I saw that the sylphs were flying cabbage in that game, I thought it was odd because I played 4 as my very first game in 1991 or 2, and I was very young. I remember the sylphs in 4 are fairies. They're not leaves. They're not lettuce. They're fairies. So that also makes me think that they're intended to be the twin race. And we see like the Amalja and the Sun are different, right? One is kind of warrior tribe, maybe some agriculture, some animal husbandry, where the Sun are more city dwelling, but kind of do the same thing. The sylphs and the pixies are like, to me, I forget who said it here in our chat, but it's like they're the pixies are the chaos version of the sylphs almost.
Chaos.
Yeah,
Where the sylphs are just kind of they're just chilling in the forest. They're minding their own business. They're happy-go-lucky, but they're not trying to make trouble in general.
Sylphs are trying to be your friend. A lot of the pixies just want to be your friend forever until they break you.
There we go.
I mean,
Sylphs.
sylph is a word pretty much associated with a fairy. So I would say that's fair. And also in Ilmec, once you get rid of the everlasting light, one of the special weather we get there is the umbral static. So there's an association with lightning as well in the land of the fairy of Fey folk. So yeah, could be.
Yeah, also the pixies are downright terrifying. Like, if you ever actually read into the quest lore of Ilmeg, it is horrifically terrifying.
In particular, the Leafmen.
Yes, the leaf people and the bears. The bears just kind of wandered in looking for food after the flood, and the pixies were like, "Nope, you're gonna be half flower, half bears now," and they just left them that way. And it's just like, oh wow.
I rather appreciate their sense of beautification.
I know they are
Same.
psychotic. I do not want to be in
Oh,
on
yeah.
the second
Actually,
one.
that is from a meta textual perspective. That's one of my favorite things about this particular the Pixies and Shadowbringers is that they really do nail the ancient lore and mythology vibe of they just want to have fun. Oh, if they
Yeah.
break you, no big deal.
That's true. It's like
I think it was a pretty damn accurate representation of why the Celtic were so damn terrified of the Fey folk.
You should be afraid.
Yeah,
I'll-
in recent years, Final Fantasy XIV and Thea 2 are like the only two games I've played that have, I think, done Fey folk well.
This is the sylph in the remake of 5, for
yeah.
example. Like there's
yeah, it
kind of
looks
they're
very
wearing
much-
leaves as clothing, like just like Tinkerbell, right?
Yeah, they look just like pixies. I do want
this
to
is the remake
point
of
out
4.
what Bahamut says, though, where the pixies have the power to cross the shards through
Yes.
dreams, and the sylphs very much do not. They just dance.
Yes.
I think it's because the Fey folk are more like, for example, they are. I'm not sure because Feoul seems to appear to Tataru in dreams. So I'm not sure if they're restricted to that, but there's the whole plot beast tribe plot with the pixies and the and you know the dream realm. So yeah, that's something interesting too, especially right now at the gates of Endwalker.
On this topic as well, it just brings to mind that when the Sundering happens, it's not like all the most powerful traits of the pre-Sundered race is stuck on the source. Like, it seems to vary. If indeed the sylphs are the twin race to the pixies, then it's very apparent that the pixies are objectively more powerful, have a much better kit in their magic arsenal.
Yeah.
It's not related to anything else, but there's something that I always have to make a note of whenever we discuss the sylphs. Their emissary to us, Frixio? No, not Frixio. Noraxia wears this leaf mask that none of the others do, except for one of the tempered sylphs also wears one. The mask thing just seems very interesting to me, and probably not coincidental.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. Frixio says, something is not right in our home these days. Listen to the trees. Elemental ones warn of danger. How old is Frixio? Go.
No idea, but I'm just I think I told Neela or Bonnie. I didn't or some of them actually told me. I don't actually recall, but in 5.55 the way the sylphs refer to Van Daniel was on point.
Yes. That's great. It was something like the robed cackling one or something, wasn't
Yes.
it?
Sinister one?
Fantastic.
The rose cackling one.
With how little importance sylph culture attaches to child-parent relationships, it stands to reason that the concept of family lineage is so ingrained in the other races is all but non-existent. Accordingly, the woodland folk makes no use of surnames, each individual identified exclusively by a single given name. Sylphic gender, or lack thereof, can also be confusing for outsiders to comprehend. Those sylphs who possess both stamen and pistil are capable of producing bulbs and are classified as everblooms. Generally considered male by other races, their names are characterized by the ixio suffix.
I would like to address Kira's point here. What do we think about the sylphs and Titania? Where Granny Sylph is basically, she has the same hairstyle as Titania.
I guess could be. Yeah.
All I can think about with Titania right now is I'm like, that transformation that Titania has is based on, the relics that they have. And I'm just over here like, I wonder if that's also how Hades' transformation works. Because, one-track mind and all that.
Oh,
Mhm.
it's interesting you mentioned the relics because that makes me think of talking about Susano. What was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. So it's objects imbued with power potentially makes sense that they can
Yeah.
also like. Yeah, interesting.
Because we see, the Titania that we fight in the level
I'll put her up.
74 trial, but then Feoul then takes up that mantle.
Yeah, so there's your Frixio hair.
Yep. And so spoiler to anyone who hasn't done the Pixie Quest, but oh god, what's her name? Lad.
Anlad.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
basically Titania.
Yep.
And she looks so it's different hair, but it's the same face.
Mm-hmm.
And the memories. I was
Mhm.
going through it on something the other day and I was like, oh, holy cow.
100 years of
Yeah.
suffering reborn.
And the hair
Part
is an
of the-
interesting point, too, because Feoul as Titania doesn't have that hair.
Indeed.
Mhm.
They have
Right.
the same hair they had before,
Mm-hmm.
Just
So this
bigger
is
and
an
fancier.
example, perhaps, of not Titania itself, but you know how every character we meet has a corollary on the first. So maybe
Yeah.
That's
Anlad
right.
is the Frixio equivalent. Is that the question?
So
I would say
wait.
no.
Pixies are originally Vobertite children, correct? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
So
souls of dead children in general. I don't think it's just Voberdite, but I'm not 100% sure.
right.
Yeah.
So they would have potentially had Frixio then have a soul that was a corollary to a soul in the first that was originally something that wasn't a pixie, but then maybe became one, and then this particular pixie also became Titania.
I would
later on.
I would dispute that every person on the source has a corollary on the
Oh
first.
no, you're right, of course.
Right.
I would,
It's just a
I would
theory.
agree.
Though.
I would agree with Seto here, saying that the soul does not define what your soul does not define who you are. So yeah.
Well, yeah, which is why it's not like, oh no, everyone has a copy there. Well, the reason the first doesn't have everyone from the source represented is because most of the life got wiped out. But there are a huge number of hidden, unremarked upon NPCs that have exact same facial data, etc.
Yes, and I worked it out. There's about a 1 in 930,000 chance of having someone having the exact same facial data.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence.
It's fully intentional, and it feeds into the whole notion of sharding and finding another Ascian to ascend. Like, just go find another copy on a different shard. They might be still in the live stream, they might be living, they might be 90, they might be 2, but they're there somewhere.
They may be a sin eater.
Stop it.
How unfortunate.
Guess we'll just leave them in a hole on the ground for 100 years.
They got
We're
a
going to take a 10-minute break to watch Cobran's
Or
How unfortunate.
Meowth, they got a whiff of that white meso.
Wicked White.
Wicked White.
Wicked White.
So can we move on to the next beast tribe?
Is the next beast tribe the Namazu?
I think it might be the Heavensward ones now.
It's the Mughals.
Oh god,
Nope,
no.
bye.
I was gonna say we still have a few ARR ones in like
Oh no, the
non-tribe mentions.
It's true. I'm just going by the book for ease.
Kupo.
Mughals are Ascians because only they can hide themselves at will, but you can see them anyway.
No.
Possible.
Not only that, but they are.
Possible.
They've been around since the beginning. They know of and what happened during the first calamity.
They do. They said it was very windy, and so they fucking left everyone to die.
Now here's this,
That was their solution.
and again we do see Mughals, do we not, on the first?
we see one Moogle, and it's very curious, Kupo.
And he's very
thought there were-
bloodthirsty, Kupo.
And you collect
We
see
sacks
the
of
Moogle.
nuts.
Like, he wants to just go all out on kill,
No.
blood, gore.
Clan
The
Nutsy.
best-
Sounds like my people.
The best Moogle quest
Yeah,
was
true.
the one where we decided that we wanted to make fake Kubo nuts and blow them up.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Heaven's Word made me hate the Moogles.
Yep.
Well, that's true
Same.
of everybody who went through Churning Mists. Just rabid hatred.
Oh my
I
god.
found them
can you-
annoying, but I still like them.
Midnight just horrified me. Can you imagine an Asian reincarnated as a Moogle?
Please
no.
no.
Can we not?
Please no.
Totally.
I would
Moogle in a
love to
robe.
see
We got the claws.
Moogle and Asian robes.
So I think it's interesting. We've only seen Asians as either Humes or Humes in Elven bodies. We haven't seen a Miko Asian or a Lalafell Asian, and I really hope we never do.
I mean, we are trying to work on that. Cough.
I think it's also worth mentioning that presumably at least some of it is because of, design issues. They actually didn't adapt the robe to the flashback of Logriff's form. They just used the shadowless attire. Because, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have looked right or they'd have had to spend a bunch of time on it. I'm not sure why, but
I can't imagine it would have taken that much time. For no
for
particular
whatever reason, they chose not to.
I was okay with
She's
that.
Maybe it was to differentiate to make
Differentiate?
appear different, since
They
you know,
didn't do it for.
Oracle.
They didn't do that for Igayorm.
And no, I mean, because Logriff was kind of the Oracle of Darkness, so maybe she wore a different outfit.
Well, I
And
thought
you
it
know-
was just because
and
she's
you
a
know
Highlander
that-
model.
Exactly.
And you
She's
know,
a
the
Highlander
We don't know
model.
what that means.
She has a Highlander model, so they didn't have the body type.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, since she was using a Highlander, they would have
Fair.
had to adapt the robes to a new form.
They should,
fact,
so
when
that
they-
I can wear them.
When they showed, I wish they would. Yes, absolutely, and then put it in the store so I can spend all my money on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Oh, what was I gonna say?
It would make it so much easier for us
Oh,
to
yeah.
find each other.
When we see Igayorm and we fight her in Heaven's Word and all of that, most of the time that's a male model.
Oh yeah, Ignorm's flat.
In the scene at the
Probably
end of
I'm
The Realm
sure
Reborn,
she's not.
she's not. Because she does a different wave. All the other Askians are doing the worship thing, and she's just doing the female wave hello.
Yeah.
Which is probably
So, yeah.
why they switched, because they hadn't created the emote for a female model.
Yes, as Kira says, Asians are clearly race snobs because they don't possess lalas.
It's funny. We were more speaking, though, of the true sundered self being found rather than
Right,
possession,
right.
though.
Although I would argue that they are not complete snobs because
Because what?
I think they
Anyway.
lost Cobra.
You
We lost you
completely
for a
cut
few
out.
seconds.
I'm here. Oh, sorry. I would argue that while they might be race snobs, they are not averse to taking over complete garbage because Fan Daniel did take us out.
Saw that coming.
Well,
It
well,
would be
well.
so. The scoot and fruity that would come out of having Ultima or somebody in Mitsuyu's body would just be so chef-kiss.
Midnight says Namazu Asians would be the wild card, not gonna lie.
Well, we
Hail
actually know
Zodiac,
one.
yes, yes.
We know one actually. His name's Soldier
Right?
First Class.
Yes.
Yep.
I would argue Seigetsu the Enlightened is an Asian, and I will follow him to. He will tell me to go off a cliff, and I'll ask how soon.
The rejoining pays well. Yes, yes.
Oh, it's glorious. All right, so Moogles, eh? Let's see.
I hate Moogles.
Kupo.
Gosh, I almost don't
Free
even...
Kubo nuts.
These elusive denizens of the Black Shroud are skilled in the manipulation of ether, their arcane arts allowing them to remain undetected by all but the most determined or gifted of seekers. the course of recent events, Eorzeans have also become aware of a second Mughal clan dwelling in the churning mists of Dravonia.
The cowards.
Mughals aren't exactly made for fighting. You have to give them that. I mean,
No, you gotta give 'em alcohol.
Guard does okay.
They'll fight
But you're not
anything if
wrong.
you give them alcohol. But fuck Moglin and fuck the Mughals Guard.
Well, you just don't like it because he thinks your name is ridiculous.
I mean, the best thing about the Mughals in the Churning Mist was Izel's reaction to them. The end.
I've always found it curious because obviously the story of the Mughals in the Shroud and the Mughals in the Churning Mists, it's apparent that the Churning Mists Mughals are the tribe of King Mogulmog I, or as Moglin says here, a direct descendant of Chieftain Mogul. I mean, just by definition, some of them stayed in the clouds, which makes me wonder how serious the whole issue they were dealing with was when they just kind of split their tribe in half. Just something I've been trying to kind of...
Maybe they just
think-
found different solutions at the time. Like some of them were able to hide in the sky, and some of them went to the land.
Like, we ran out of rope, so let's make it work.
I do
Yeah,
think
they
there was
used, they
probably
used the ladder.
there's probably some degree of people saying, "Hey, I want out." I think the Mughals saying, "Hey, I want out. This seems terrible. I want to move." And other ones being like, "This is our home. I'm not leaving."
Yeah, you're probably right.
Okay, so yeah, some of the best and funniest fight music. Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't care. It's still
Yeah,
good.
this is Halloween, so...
See, it doesn't sound at all like that to me, but I'm just odd.
It's okay to be wrong.
It whips out my my Magic Theory textbook and slams it on the desk. Music Theory. I think I said Magic Theory.
You did say Magic
did.
Theory. Do you have that one too?
No, I don't have the lore books yet. I'm working on it.
I'm
You could try
intrigued.
borrow some of Fan Daniels. I'm sure he hasn't gotten them too blood smeared.
What could go wrong?
Everything.
Primary industry, postal service.
True.
Literally.
Oh god, I don't want to talk about the Nath. Or the Vath.
I'll
Oh, I
talk about the
like
NAF. They're my favorite.
Of course.
Yes.
Any more on
They're
the
like one of my
Mughals?
favorites.
Mughals
think-
must die. I want to grab them by the palm and
So-
just throw them at the nearest wall.
So you're a Dark Knight main then?
Yes, I agree.
Yes, I
absolutely
am.
agree.
Yeah. Yes, that was exactly what I was thinking. Punch a Moogle for me.
Yep. So
Like, I was really
I
serious.
want to interject here for a minute, and there's one beast tribe we have not talked about, and that
Sure.
don't really have any rep quests. But I don't think we can talk about the beast tribes without talking about the goblins.
The goblins.
Yeah, technically they have a primal, which is Alexander, and they are a beast tribe, but they don't have any rep quests. Despite that, they still have a lot of lore, and as far as I recall, are not present on the first.
Yes,
Yes,
which I
they
find
are.
odd.
They are, but they are represented on the first, but they are
Ah, yes,
actually
they're the imps.
they're the hobgoblins in Colusia. But they are,
Oh,
yeah, but
wow,
they are
they're
yeah.
all murderers.
They're all
Yep.
murderers, yeah. So this is another example of the split race having different aspects on different locations.
Okay, I stand corrected. Thank you.
So the goblins, I have to say, Eorzean Charlayan has probably become the better after the goblins decided to reside in Idleshire.
I mean, yeah, they have cheese.
I meant that in, Charlayan pride priding itself to be like the cradle of knowledge and everyone is equal, but that's actually
Oh yeah, they're full
Yeah.
of shit.
yeah. And then you have the goblins facing the same conflict, the conflict of Charlatan persecution for spreading knowledge in the Illuminati. Like, do you recall how quick things went after Brayflux because she was, spreading the recipe of the goblin cheese? That.
Gobby cheese, yes.
Yes.
Don't ask how they make it.
Oh no.
And it's kind of sad because they say the stinkiest cheese is the most tasty, and I've been to France and I can assure you it's true.
Wow. I mean, you're also closer to Luxembourg than any of us.
Oh, just to address Kira's point, we've discussed it before, but essentially the dragons arrived from the Dragon Star after fighting off Omega, and Midgard-Stormer made it, but he lost all of his fire and youth in the process, and he brought his broodlings with him. They are not a beast tribe; they are straight up aliens, and they arrived post-sundering.
And most likely unsundered.
No, they are definitely unsundered.
They are
Well,
unsundered
there's no way they would
space
have gotten
aliens from a
sundered.
different planet.
How much would it suck if flying through the space surrounding the source was enough to sunder alien beings?
That would really suck.
No.
That would be terrible.
That seems
Oh my God.
crazy, yeah.
Yeah?
It would make us wonder how common sundered peoples are relative to unsundered.
God, Bonnie's gonna write another fan fiction about it.
This is a
No.
good opportunity, though.
I mean,
to
I
mention,
could do it.
Do it. I just want to see what it'll look like.
Put that in my
Sorry.
list.
Very angsty, that's how it be.
Indeed. Go ahead, Fal.
No problem. I was going to say this is a good opportunity to draw back to our tangent earlier about Tiamat and her being concerned about being tempered, meaning that even an unsundered being whose race hails from a different planet is not immune to aspecting caused by creation magic.
Yes.
Which does make sense because as we experience in the Moogle quests, the Moogle Beast Tribe quests, the dragons' voices can actually affect ether and can do things around the turning mists and whatnot. So they can affect stuff of this world affects them.
Yeah,
In
it's something
fact,
of a universal. It's like the universal physics of this.
In fact, the dragons refer themselves to the chorus, which is definitely a musical term, and Elizabeth described the original echo as a symphony. So it seems.
Fusroda.
Huh?
Dragon speak.
No.
Fusroda.
No.
Well, fair
Fusro
enough.
don't.
Fair enough, because in Skyrim, the dragon, the words spoken in dragon speak, they are actually the dragons. When they fight, they employ these words as for them a battle is actually a debate.
Yes, they're using their food. They're talking at each other in very harsh terms that can do, among other things, split open time, break reality, and poison you.
That's a hell of a debate.
It also gives you a nice little speed boost.
That too, and you can basically create a whole meme.
Why do you have a shoe bill standing there behind your couch?
They just do that.
Fucking
I believe,
Don't tell anyone.
I think that's Bonnie's, and mine's behind my chair.
Probably. We both have Sheebil out, so, you know.
Yes, dragon roars are not just sound; they affect ether as well.
At the same time, do you recall what when we first meet Racevilgar and Nidhogg, they both speak in dragon speak, and Alfino at first was surprised that I'm here. My ears hear the dragon speak, but my in my head the meaning of the words is clear, which is pretty much the same what happens when we got first to Amorath and we speak with the first Amorathian shade.
Yes.
And there and Reen is like, this is nothing like any other language I ever heard, but I understood everything, and I don't know if I think it was Yashtola who said just the same as he understood us. So it seems that Ansander beings can communicate beyond the meaning of words, and actually
They have an intrinsic understanding of each other's words and like what they're trying to convey as ideas. And
I think they speak with both. I think the closest thing I can imagine to describe it is they communicate both with words and with the soul at the same time, so they can understand. Even if they don't understand the words, they understand what the soul is saying, like in feelings or memories or something. I don't know.
I would agree with that, and I would say that somehow Alphino was still surprised, even though he'd heard something like that before.
He probably just
He
forgot.
probably wasn't expecting it.
The boy's not very buoyant.
It's obviously not like a thing they've gone into too much for us to say, oh, 100% this is the case, but we've definitely got some data points that are pointing us that way. I would really like to see some more like unsundered creatures, maybe from another planet, to learn a little more about. Yes, that's a nonsense.
I'm just trying to imagine like an interaction between Vritra and Vana and how they could talk to each other in that manner. That'd be pretty cool.
Preferably by Vritra eating Vana and then just out.
There it is again.
Just Core, just imagine at the very end a showdown, a verbal smackdown of Hades versus Vana. In ancient language.
I want it.
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be a really cool way to get our character to voice too. Would be to just have them speak in ancient.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame Alphino for being surprised. I mean, an Echo user is probably accustomed to hearing whatever they're saying as their native understanding, but anyone else would be utterly baffled. Why am I hearing these words that they're clearly not saying? Because you're hearing the vocals, and then your brain is processing the meaning, and there's no gap. It's just like you're hearing two things, but you're understanding completely, and it's gotta be a crazy feeling.
Is your brain actually processing the words, or is your soul processing the word? It's kind of
well, I mean, I'm using words for this term.
It's just that it's kind of these are the kind of questions that in Q&As with the developers should happen, but instead, okay.
No,
Someone write it down real
quick. It's all spoilers now.
Someone write it down. I will say that if you speak other languages and you are, you wind up in one mental mindset, like an English mindset. Right. If someone says something to you in the other language, you will understand it, but you'll also have a moment of like, before you tune in and switch mindset and like fully get it. And that's what it seems like he's describing to me.
That is
my life,
what
actually.
I experienced. That is not what I experienced. So like someone will speak to me in Spanish and I will just immediately process it, and I will either respond in English or Spanish or both, which is kind of bizarre because it's kind of this weird Spanglish mixture. But like, you almost say what you're talking about.
I unfortunately do the same when I try to speak a language I haven't practiced as much. I will slip into one I have by accident.
Yeah. That's kind of my immediate reaction is I won't immediately be aware of what language someone is talking to me in. I will just respond.
It's actually well
maybe
studied.
It's because I know a few other languages and I can get them jumbled up at times. I don't know. Maybe I just have brain problems.
No, I don't think so. It's actually well studied in both of your cases. I don't have the source on hand, but multilinguistic people who near or reach fluency in multiple languages will often pick and choose the most appropriate word from whichever language suits the need.
Yes, validation.
I speak three languages rather fluently, and I find like sometimes I forget which word was for what, and it's like
it could be a lot to keep track of, honestly.
Oh, I like Midnight's theory here. They say they personally like to think the shades sound that way because they're of a different time and era, and we clearly see they're more kindly and open people compared to the Asians that we know now. I would argue that's because they are not Asians. Asians are a very, very different thing than the ancients we see.
They're a specific evolution that was
Yes.
responding to both the circumstances of final days and the sundering, but also their being tempered to zodiac, with one notable exception.
I would say that their being tempered to zodiac doesn't really have much to do with it, more so that their divorcing of body and soul and existing as bodiless entities is what really nailed them down as Asians.
Yeah,
They're
definitely.
ether bubbles, basically.
Yes, basically.
I
Sentient
think
ether bubbles.
I have another point of view regarding that, but aren't we discussing beast tribes?
Yes, we're way off topic at this point. Thank
It
you.
happens.
Sorry.
No.
So goblins, they throw bombs and make smelly cheese.
There you go. The best cheese.
And they well, it's not theirs, but they took the most badass primal ever, which is Alexander. Moving on.
The eulogist primal.
Goblins are a scattered nomadic tribe, claiming no land as their own, said to embark on a great pilgrimage once every 100 years. The entire race appeared to have vanished from the face of Eorzea for quite some time, and it is only in the last 5 years that the realm has seen a return of their kind.
Basically, then they weren't in 1.0.
Did Alexander even temper them?
No.
I think
No.
Alexander did not temper anyone.
It
Yeah.
refrained from doing that. It specifically didn't want to.
Alexander was not a class 1 primal. It did not temper anyone.
I mean, fair, because Alexander actually. I mean, well, anyways,
Alexander didn't want to do what it was intended to do. It wanted to just shut down and not affect the time stream or any person.
I mean, Alexander, his whole theme is protection. He's a fortress, and his name literally means protector of mankind. So he even sealed himself from time to protect everyone. So tempering others to his will would have been incoherent with his team, you know.
Goblins have an insatiable curiosity for technology in all its forms, and this enthusiasm drives them to master such diverse fields as fire sand preparation and automata manufacture. Known for their long history of frequenting the settlements of man, goblins are seen traveling from city to city, absorbing the local wisdom as they hawk a plethora of wares drawn from their enormous gobby bags.
Tubi's a goblin invention confirmed.
No.
Yeah, Midnight. Alexander, it tested and knows the Warrior of Light will be fine in saving the world, as it literally calculated that as well, according to the end of the storyline, I believe.
I think we
It's not
discussed
quite,
that the other
but
day.
we did discuss it, but it's close.
I mean, Alexander couldn't see beyond a point, which I would call one of these. I call sometimes I refer to
Singularity.
them as the points of singularities or points of no return. For example, the way I see it, the Sundering would be one of these singularities or points of no return. So yeah, I think Alexander.
Let me go ahead and speak to it if you don't mind, unless you got some.
No.
Sorry, because I did just recently do it. It didn't specifically mention the Warrior of Light, but it said that there was a time coming up and that the fate of the world would be in the hands of a single person, and then it shows the Warrior of Light, your character.
Yeah, that could be misleading. I get you.
Well, I don't think it's going to be misleading. I think that's literally Endwalker. I think we're closing in on it. It just
I agree.
but Alexander didn't say, "You got this, bro." Alexander said, "It's going to be in someone's hands, and even I can't see beyond that."
Yeah. No, but it actually gives room for further debate. Remind me to comment on that later. Anyway, back to
The Vanu Vanu.
yeah, the Vanu.
Oh, the dancing birds.
Someone go.
Dancing birds of power.
These avian beastmen dwell upon the floating islands of the Sea of Clouds. The tribe's existence unknown to the world below until the airships of Ishgard first rose to explore the sky's domain. Initial encounters with the races of men were peaceful, but in recent years the Vanu Vanu have grown hostile towards those who would encroach upon their homeland.
Like them.
So yes, I like them. I want to comment on Bismarck before we move further. Um, from our adventures in the first, we know that Bismarck was a real entity, that was a fae, who was likely killed in a calamity on the Source. But the memory of that subsisted and became the Vanu Vanu's deity because of that. So I will hand it
And
over.
considering it exists on the Source and the first, we can infer that predates the Sunder.
Exactly. Once again,
Yes.
it predates the Sundering. So the Fae are a pre-existing scenario in some sense, but maybe not the Pixies.
It could have been like the Fae may have been some sort of arcane entities. It could be before the Sundering, maybe.
Did we want to dwell on them at all?
I kind of do. I want to say that they are one of the best beast tribes because they have the best music, which sounds remarkably like the music from Zeal, just because it uses the same instruments. But they have the worst beast tribe quests because they are in the worst zone, and you have to fly all the way across the map to do them, and they have cutscenes everywhere.
I think, despite that, they were the first beast tribe I got to Bloodsworn, period.
My first one was the Vath, and then the next one was the Vanu. I've
Yeah,
gotten Bloodsworn with every single tribe after Heaven's Word.
My
I'm
first
not
tribe was the Amalja because I needed that Drake mount.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I really think that that new zone that we're kind of just calling Zeal because it looks like Zeal, has a lot to do with the Vanu, and I think it's a lot because of the music and the instruments. But I keep coming back to them for that zone.
I think it's totally possible, but I guess we'll have to see.
To be fair, that zone reminds me of much cleaner Azizla, but
So Zeal.
Well, in the way that Azizla is the tainted land, and it's all full of these horrible chimerical things, and what's the word I'm looking for? The mechanical stuff. This one looks much more natural from the art, which is all we've seen.
That's how the ancients
Yeah.
liked it.
anyways.
Yes, exactly. Midnight. Sea of Clouds sucks, but the Vanu Vanu are awesome. Is that a retainer?
Yes.
And who are you talking to?
What?
Can you? I see the Dark Knight armor and Scylla talking.
My lovely cockroaches.
The
Well, that's
Elizabeth and the
Guildmaster-
Makode
That's
are
good,
Sarah and I.
Lucian. Haven't you done your archer
Buggy
quests?
boys.
Thank
My
you for
favorite.
remembering. Yeah, thank you for remembering. Feo should remember. Feo's a bard. Don't you remember your old boss?
Nope.
Shameful.
I can kill you
Oh,
at 500
boy.
yawms. I wouldn't try anything.
You can shoot arrows.
Come Tuesday, I'm just gonna park in your house, and you're not gonna be able to get rid of me. It's gonna be great.
What, Bonnie, what do you disagree? What? I'm being bullied again. Being bullied again.
I'll read the bit on the Nath if that's alright, since I'm a big fan.
Yes.
A
Please
tribe
please.
of insect A tribe of insect-like beastmen known to inhabit the southern reaches of the Durranian forelands. Hunters, first and foremost, they burn a sort of incense to defend their homeland from the dragon threat. At the center of Nath society sits the king-like Overmind in presence, its presence allowing its subjects to communicate without need of word or gesture. They have the same kind of hive mind going on as ants and such.
This is basically the power of the econ on asteroids.
It's an interesting beast tribe quest because they really explore the concepts of individuality and what makes people different, what makes people the same. How for many of these to us the idea of being like controlled by an overmind is horrifying, and rightly so. That's not natural for us. But for the Vath, the ones we know, have had something damage their connection, and they don't have that, and they find it terrifying. At least at first.
They find the idea of being disconnected from the one mind terrifying at first because they just don't have, like, for them, individuality is what's terrifying,
Exactly.
not the other way around. But as they learn to make their own stories, their own lives, their own personalities, they get to realize that it's actually, well, it's still scary, and you have to rely on yourself. You can really benefit from being able to make your own path as well, your own story.
So they're the Borg, but without assimilation. Yes, Deft Arm is awesome. I loved seeing him develop and go into the firmament. That was great.
Yes.
He's like, I want to be you.
Also, these guys are they are not exactly they're. I'm not sure if they were in 11, but Boney can tell us. But these guys hail from what I recall from Final Fantasy 12. They are in there. They are the Urutan Yensa tribe that lives in the Sea of Sands. Here they are the Nath, but they are basically they are actually the same model, everything.
So the oil rig place? The place with the desert place with all the oil, is that where they're from?
Yeah. That's
okay.
that's the literal Sea of Sands, and they live in there, and they tame sand sharks to move around.
I know very little about 12. I need to replay it again. I played the whole game and remember nothing of it.
You have to you do have to play 12, and you do have to play Tactics.
Yeah, I never played Tactics.
All three of them.
I would say, truthfully, like, since I haven't played 12 either, Tactics is not that long of a game, and it's incredibly good. So if you like chessboard combat,
I do.
you might
on
take
my
to
list.
it, truly.
After I finish Nier, it's next on my list.
Yeah, I'm still behind on Nier as well. It's just,
yeah.
Alas. Do we have any more on the Nath?
I think my favorite thing about them is that they're bugs with grenades and guns, just inexplicably, and I found that to be very outstanding about them, other than just the hive mind stuff.
I will say I enjoyed their quests.
Yeah, that's
yes.
It's really interesting seeing their perspective.
I think probably my favorite thing about them was that you can get the Kongamata mount, which is really shiny and pretty, and I like shiny.
And it makes
and bugs. I think bugs are cool.
It makes a really interesting, unique noise.
It's shiny and pretty until you see one without the mask, with the head armor in Stormblood, and they
I
look
love that. I was like, oh my god!
And they look like as if they've been stuck in Halmerud's room like for 5 hours.
I would say 3
like
hours. 5 hours is a bit extreme.
Yeah, I like the Kongamata mount. I love it. It actually buzzes.
It does buzz.
Indeed. Wings are pretty.
The Kikirin.
Yes. They sound so sad when they die.
Yes, I don't like to fight them. It makes me feel bad. It's like killing the Kate Siths and Redingers in Final Fantasy 13 2 Online Returns. I don't like it.
So I discovered it's not Kate Sith, it's Ketchi.
All that stuff from all the Celtic lore is pronounced so vastly different from.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But I understood it. Kate is cat, and she means fae. So
If
it
I
means cat
recall,
fairy.
Skathach
Like
is
Banshee.
pronounced very close to Skaha.
Ska.
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah, it's like it's like a soft ch in there, and there's no in the middle. It's like
Yeah.
But yeah, well, you got the what I meant.
Man,
totally.
was like, oh no, please don't.
Ratty Boys.
No, I'm fine. It's just that I made a mistake and like, well, everyone knows the thing by Kate Sith.
Catchy.
Yeah.
Oh, Neela has Gaelic songs memorized. Okay, Neela, we're gonna have song time for our next YouTube video.
Excellent.
After you finish the inversion video. Neela's making an inversion video, by the way. Everyone encourage her to work on that.
Come pay a bill so that I can, shove the kids off on someone else and actually have time. Time is my crunch right now.
Fair.
We truly do need your color inversion theory. It's been kind of one of our staples.
It's gonna turn your world upside down.
Wow.
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 The Kikiran. These rat-featured beastmen are similar to the race of goblins in that they lack a true homeland and are known to gravitate toward the merchant profession. Where Kikiran differ from their nomadic counterparts, however, is also one of the race's defining traits, an ability to integrate themselves into foreign communities. This is the only valid excuse I can give for why we don't have a friendly tribe in the game. I would love to see one happen anyway, just as a quest giver.
I would love that because they're my favorite tribe from 11. I love them so much.
They're in 11 too?
Yeah, they're originally from the Treasures of Out Urgan expansion. Same for the Mamuja.
I would assume that these guys get since we have the Kitari on the first, that's our allotted beast tribe. We probably won't get a source one, which is a shame because I think they're neat.
That is true. We do have the Kitari on the first. It is a shame because they're very different cultures.
The Kitari are the gathering tribe, yes?
They're the ones in... Yeah. Yeah, and I'm actually about halfway through them.
The difference in the way they're dressed is quite striking, like the fancy outfits that the Kitari wear versus essentially rags that the Kikurn usually wear.
And it's because I think that the Kitari, that's a reflection of how they integrated into the Lankan civilization and retained that culture, whereas the Kikurn kind of have their own thing going, but try to integrate into the cultures of the source as a whole.
Yeah, which seem, with some exceptions, to be very Western overall, as opposed to Ronka, which was very much based in the South American empires of Peru, Azteca, and the Maya. So the Kikiran almost look like your stereotypical Middle Ages, very poverty-stricken kind of... I don't know, like not quite peasants, more like the wayward people who travel around.
Pilgrims.
Pilgrims. That's funny.
Not pilgrims.
Not American. Not American.
No, not gypsies. I do mean peasants, but I mean like kind of the high fantasy wanderer. Poor guy. I'm trying to find a mental reference for this.
Like the Khajiit in Skyrim, for example, or in
That's a good
the
example.
Elder Scrolls, that they travel in caravans.
But those were. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's not quite gypsies. There's something else that I'm trying to draw on.
It's like they travel in caravans and they merchants and they are selling their products all over the place, basically.
But yeah, in that sense, they're very similar to the Khajiit, for sure.
Yeah, that's how they are in 11 too. I have spent millions of gil at the ones in 11 because that's how I had to buy all my Corsair skills. Pain.
I guess a Corsair's life isn't free.
Do you have anything more on these guys? Mamulja are next.
I
This,
will
they're
say that
fucking adorable.
it's their fault that the Namazu are dead in the first, and if you want to finish the Great Serpent quest line, do the Kikirin or Katari or whatever the fuck they're called.
Yeah, do the Qatari
So
stuff.
you can
Yeah,
do revisionist history through the Beast Tribe.
yeah, exactly.
I'm the one speaking reason there. Like,
I-
yeah, we definitely conquered and enslaved. Like, sorry, little
Oh
guy.
yeah, no, totally not. No, they were peaceful.
Interesting as I haven't gone through their quest line because I don't have level up crafters or gatherers.
They are
So-
a great way to level those up.
For sure.
Yeah, but you don't
No
want
buts.
to see you don't want to see the level my disciple of the land on hand there. So
It's okay. You have 25 characters that you can do it on.
There you go. No excuses.
Just pick one.
It's
4 or
essentially
5.
archaeological work. They're trying to find out what the true past is, and you have a role in choosing what the interpretation is.
Yeah, basically you tell them
I
what the past
found-
was.
I found interesting how, as far as I knew, they kind of have they kind of worship the god of death or something.
What?
And the great and the great serpent. I take.
Just do the quest.
Yeah. I think they
Okay.
basically revere all of the Ronkan deities, like Wuzada.
The Mamulja.
They're from the New World.
Oh, they are from Mamuk, not the New World. The New World is Aldenard.
Is Mamuk canon for 14? I forget.
It is.
It
Okay.
is.
This book says, hailing from the New World to the far west, the Mamulja are most commonly spotted selling mercenary services on the Isle of Vilbrand. They are but recently arrived on Eorzea's shores, and much about these scaly beast men remains the subject of rumor and hearsay.
I need y'all to understand that if the New World is Ot-Ergen from 11, like, I am going to absolutely lose my shit.
So tell us about the Mamulja from 11, because we don't know a whole lot about them outside from what we know of the Keterem expedition. Which, so for those of you who don't know, the Keterem expedition was like 70 something years before the Calamity, where Limsa was like, hey, let's go find out what's across the Indigo Deep. They sent an expedition and found the Mumalja, and we're like, these guys are cool, let's trade with them. And then after the Calamity, we're like, we need people to help keep order. Please help us. And then they just never left, and they stopped getting paid, so they started just breeding and hanging out and causing all kinds of trouble.
They really just want to hang out in the hot tub, though.
In a lot of ways,
Yes.
it makes them sound like warriors of light.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, I could read the blurb on the Mamulja from the 11 wiki real quick if you want me
That'd
to.
be great,
Do it.
please. You want me to pull it up?
I
Send it to
have
me,
it
I'll put it up on
already,
screen, and
but
you can also
yeah.
read it from yours.
I DM'd you the link. Yeah, they're one of the Beastmen tribes that came out with the Ot-Ergen expansion in 11. A really quick just overview of that situation is in Ot-Ergen, which is the Near Eastern city. There's this event called Besieged that happens where the beast tribes of the surrounding areas will actually siege the city. It's an absolute lag fest, but it's another one of those cases where, you know, the beastmen are at war with the quote unquote intelligent races.
How dare they?
I know. Oh, I lost my tab. Nope, there it is. The Momolja are a group of beastmen that hold dominion over the Momolja Savage Lands, a land hostile to the Near Eastern Oturgan Empire. Referring to themselves as the Momolja, meaning Brethren of the Shining Scale, the inhabitants of the Savage Lands are organized into 4 biologically different classes that consist of warriors, Momolja fighters, aquatics, Momolja Sahagin, sages, Momolja mages, and knights, Momolja hussars that ride wyvers. The Momolja have been paying tribute to the Oturgan Empire since ages past and are known for their republican form of government. Their nation is ruled by a council of 4 overlords, one selected from each class. The Savage Lands' recent uprising against the Empire seems connected to the emergence of a prominent leader known as the Autarch. Also, they wreck your shit constantly if you ever fight them.
It looks like they can break your weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Political scientist in me was like, Republican form of government. I'm saying for what would otherwise be the Beast Tribe, at least in terms of 14.
Yeah, something that, like, with 14 made me suspicious that Oturgan might exist in universe is because of the Momolja. Like, the models and everything in 14 are straight ripped from 11. And they have the same naming conventions and everything, too. But the thing that does my head in is, geographically, Oturgan is east of the starting areas in 11. So it would be like our Thavnir, basically, in 14, if you wanted to compare it geographically that way. But for 14, if Oturgan exists, it would be to our west, which would put us on pretty much the opposite side of Vanadil, the planet from Vanadil, if 11 areas in fact exist on the source.
I like to think they don't, but okay.
I'm still
would-
suspicious that they might, because there's just so
we
much
would make
overlap.
14 an inverse version of 11.
It would, and I would argue that you forgot the Momolja breeders, who are all over the place in Bronze Lake.
I haven't
Breeders.
forgotten those, but I made a joke in our live chat earlier about those.
They want to do the mating dance. Gotta let them do the mating
Yes,
dance.
that mating dance could make lots of money. It's just a shame that Eorzins just aren't ready for it.
They'd much rather have Warrior of Light bathwater.
How about these gigants?
I was gonna briefly
Gigants.
touch on how there are Momolja with 2 heads.
Yes, there are.
That's
And
weird.
2 sentiences.
Yeah, that's really weird.
So
It's a
I
thing
would
that
say
happens with snakes too. It's a
we're-
noted phenomenon.
we are actually 10 minutes over time right now.
It's true. Let's see.
How much more is there? Is the Gigants the last one, or are
Let me
there
take a
much
look.
more?
We
Gigants.
also have the Ananta, the Namazu.
Oh,
I mean, we
Yeah,
can
we'll
save
come
them
back
for
to
next
this
week.
next
We've got
week.
we've got a few left to do.
Okay. Alrighty.
I don't know why dragons are here, but there they are.
No, I
guess
guess
'cause of
because trials and stuff.
Yeah.
That was one we forgot, though. Yeah, we forgot about the giants, the different kinds of giants as a beast tribe. We never really interact with them in any peaceful way. They're always like eager to kill us.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, to be fair, we did enslave them for a while and
Well, not everybody
kind
did.
of keep them underground.
The Lalafell
Beledians-
Empire
The
slaved them.
Beledians pulled that shit.
Not cool, Lala.
I mean, I absolutely blame the Lalafells.
As you should.
I mean, it was in what, Copperbell, so that was a Lalafell dungeon.
Yep, facts.
Theonulda, it's their fault.
They're just constantly angry. I would be too, frankly. Well, I guess
like
we
Cider
should call
Spider
it.
says, mad because small.
The other notable thing about giants I remember is that some of them, the Gygases specifically in Mordona, worship the Crystal Tower.
Yeah.
Alrighty, any more commentary? I guess we're gonna call it for the day.
Oh, I
Yep,
guess
that's it.
we'll probably have to complete our rundown of Beast Tribes next week.
Very
Yes.
likely, yeah. So we'll do that.
Mhm.
We don't have a whole lot left on that, so much like the primals session, we'll need to discuss how we're going to proceed exactly. But thank you all for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I guess everybody say your goodbyes, and we'll sign off.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Care,
Bye.
be safe.
Appreciate y'all coming out. Hopefully next time we'll get to rate the beast tribes on how hot they are.
Ooh.
Yes, we mustn't forget.
Bring your flowchart. All right. See you
All right,
next week,
thanks, everybody.
See you.